Welcome. What you are about to watch is not science fiction, and it is not folklore. It is a serious investigation into one of history's most compelling unresolved questions, the mystery of the Tartaria Tablets, the 7,000-year-old script that predates Sumer. Across the world, in universities, research institutes, and field excavations, serious scholars are wrestling with evidence that does not fit the accepted story. Evidence that has been documented, measured, and peer-reviewed, and that still has no satisfying conventional explanation. We are going to look at that evidence carefully, without prejudice in either direction, not dismissing what is extraordinary, but not accepting it without scrutiny either. The truth, as always, is in the details. In 1961, a Romanian archaeologist named Nicolae Vlassa was excavating a Neolithic site called Tartaria in Transylvania. In a pit filled with ash and burned human bones, he found 3 small clay tablets no larger than a palm. They were covered in incised symbols. When Vlassa examined the symbols, he noticed something extraordinary. They resembled, in some cases nearly matched, the proto-cuneiform symbols that Mesopotamian civilization had used as its earliest writing. The problem was the date. The Tartaria pit context dated to approximately 5,300 BC. The Sumerian proto-cuneiform that the tablets resembled had appeared around 3,200 BC. If the Romanian tablets were genuine and their dating was correct, they predated the world's acknowledged first writing system by over 1,000 years. The tablets were argued by some scholars to represent the oldest writing on Earth, evidence of a sophisticated civilization in the Danube Valley that developed symbolic communication before Mesopotamia. Archaeologist Marija Gimbutas called the broader Vinča culture symbols the old European script. Harald Haarmann devoted a book to the civilization that produced them. Mainstream linguistics does not accept that the Vinča symbols constitute writing. The symbols are real. The dates are real. The similarity to Sumerian signs is real. Whether those marks encode language rather than just meaning, that is the question the tablets refuse to answer. This is where our investigation begins. Stay with us, because the further we go into the evidence, the more extraordinary it becomes. The story you think you know is only the surface. Beneath it lies something far more remarkable. Let us begin. Before we examine the specific evidence, we need to step back and understand the context. This case does not exist in isolation. It sits within the wider world of ancient technological anomalies, and to properly evaluate what we are looking at, we need to understand the broader picture that surrounds it. Ancient technical knowledge is remarkably vulnerable. It lives in the hands of craftsmen, in the minds of engineers, in the institutional memory of workshops and guilds. When a civilization collapses through invasion, plague, climate change, or internal conflict, that knowledge can vanish within a single generation. There is no guarantee that what is written down will be preserved, and much ancient knowledge was never written down at all. It was transmitted orally, apprentice to master, in a chain that a single catastrophe could permanently sever. This vulnerability helps explain what might otherwise seem impossible, that the ancient world possessed capabilities we did not recover for centuries or millennia. The Romans knew how to make self-healing concrete by mixing volcanic ash with seawater. When the empire fell, the recipe was forgotten. Medieval European builders worked with inferior materials for over 1,000 years before the technique was rediscovered through analysis of surviving Roman structures. The knowledge did not disappear because it was suppressed or hidden. It simply died with the people who held it. Apply this principle more broadly, and the anomalies of the ancient world become less mysterious, not in the sense of being explained, but in the sense of being plausible. If Rome could lose a concrete formula for a millennium, what else might have been lost? What might advanced cultures in earlier epochs have discovered and then lost, leaving only fragmentary traces? A strange artifact here, a suggestive diagram there, that later generations would struggle to interpret. This is the question at the heart of every anomalous discovery from the ancient world. This context matters because it tells us something important. What we are about to investigate is not an isolated curiosity. It is part of a pattern that researchers in multiple fields have been independently documenting for decades. And patterns in science demand explanation. With that foundation in place, let us now turn to the specific case at hand. Now we reach the heart of the matter. The core evidence surrounding the Tartaria Tablets, the 7,000-year-old script that predates Sumer, is more extensive, more verified, and more troubling for conventional explanations than most people realize. Let us walk through it systematically, fact by fact, and allow the evidence to speak for itself. We are not going to speculate here. Every point that follows is documented in peer-reviewed publications, official archaeological records, or government archives that are publicly accessible. The question is not whether these facts are real. The question is what they mean. Consider this first extraordinary detail. The Tartaria Tablets are 3 small clay tablets discovered by Romanian archaeologist Nicolae Vlassa in 1961 at the site of Tartaria in Transylvania, present-day Western Romania. The tablets were found in an ash pit associated with burned human bones. Their context links them to the Vinča culture, a Neolithic culture of southeastern Europe that flourished approximately 5,700–4,500 BC. The tablets bear incised symbols including geometric signs, an animal figure, and a human figure. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen, instruments malfunction, researchers make mistakes. But as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly. It is part of a consistent and documented pattern. But that is only the beginning. Researchers also discovered radiocarbon dating of organic material from the Tartaria stratigraphic layer places the deposit at approximately 5,300 BC. If the tablets are contemporaneous with this date, which is disputed, they predate the proto-cuneiform writing of Mesopotamia, approximately 3,200 BC, by around 100 years. This would make the Tartaria Tablets the oldest writing in the world, predating what had been considered the first writing system by over a millennium. Now, a skeptic might propose an alternative explanation for this, and that is entirely reasonable. We should always test alternative explanations before accepting extraordinary ones. The problem is that the alternative explanations, when examined carefully, create more problems than they solve. The mystery deepens when we examine. The Vinča culture produced incised symbols on ceramics, figurines, and clay tablets across a wide geographic area of southeastern Europe, present-day Serbia, Romania, and neighboring countries, over approximately 1,000 years. Researchers have identified over 700 distinct Vinča signs across recovered artifacts. The Tartaria Tablets contain a subset of these signs, plus additional symbols that more closely resemble Sumerian pictographs than typical Vinča ceramic markings. This is where the conventional account begins to strain. Each individual fact might be dismissed or minimized in isolation, but the cumulative weight of the evidence is another matter entirely. Perhaps most remarkable of all, the stratigraphic context of the Tartaria Tablets is considered problematic by several researchers. The tablets were found in what appeared to be a ritual deposit pit containing materials that could represent multiple time periods. Some scholars have proposed that the tablets were heirlooms or trade objects placed in the pit centuries after manufacture, meaning the tablets themselves could be older or younger than the dated stratigraphic context. Researchers who have examined this evidence have described it as genuinely difficult to explain within the accepted framework. These are not fringe commentators. They are credentialed academics publishing in mainstream journals, raising questions that the field has not yet satisfactorily answered. Then there is the matter of Shan Win's 1981 comparative analysis identified 210 Vinča culture symbols that appear to correspond to early Mesopotamian signs. This correspondence is documented and represents either evidence of cultural contact or common origin, independent parallel development, or convergent use of simple geometric forms that appear in many unrelated symbol systems globally. The three explanations are not easily distinguished statistically, and no consensus has been reached on which best fits the data. What makes this particularly significant is its independence from the previous points. This is not a case of one theory requiring another. These are separate lines of evidence converging on the same uncomfortable conclusion. Adding to the enigma is this finding. The Tartaria Tablets are currently held at the National History Museum of Romania in Bucharest. They are a significant object of cultural tourism and central to modern Romanian national pride in the region's prehistoric heritage. Their significance as possible evidence of the world's first writing has been featured in numerous popular and semi-academic works, making them among the most discussed Neolithic artifacts in Europe, despite the unresolved academic debate. Taken together, these facts form a pattern that cannot be explained by coincidence, misidentification, or methodological error. Each piece of evidence has been examined by skeptics. Each has been subjected to alternative explanations, and in each case, the alternative explanation falls short of accounting for everything that has been documented. We are left with a body of evidence that demands explanation and an accepted narrative that does not provide one. This is where serious inquiry begins. Now that we have established the evidence, we need to examine the theories that researchers have proposed to explain the Tartaria Tablets, the 7,000-year-old script that predates Sumer. This is where the debate becomes most intense, because the theories reflect not just different interpretations of the same evidence, but fundamentally different assumptions about what is possible and what the past looked like. Understanding these theories is not just an academic exercise. Each one has been championed by serious researchers with genuine credentials, and each one captures something that the others miss. The truth, if it is ever established, will likely draw on elements of several. The first major explanation proposed by researchers holds that the Tartaria Tablets and the broader Vinča symbol system constitute the world's oldest writing, an independent writing system developed in southeastern Europe before Sumerian proto-cuneiform. Proponent: Marija Gimbutas, Old European Script Hypothesis, Harald Haarmann, Das Rätsel der Civilisation. 2011. Main objection: mainstream linguists do not accept the Vinča symbols as writing because there is no evidence the symbols encode language sequentially. They may be a meaning-bearing symbol system without linguistic structure. This interpretation has significant academic support and is backed by substantial evidence, but it is not without problems. Critics point out that it requires assumptions that go beyond what the evidence strictly supports, and that key predictions of this theory have not been confirmed by subsequent research. It remains contested, and the contest is productive. A rival school of thought argues that the Vinča symbols are proto-writing, standardized marks that carry meaning and may have served as property markers, religious symbols, or recording devices, but do not encode spoken language in a systematic way. This is the mainstream academic position for most Vinča symbols. Main objection: the distinction between proto-writing and writing is itself contested, and the Tartaria Tablets show a more complex symbol arrangement than typical Vinča ceramic property marks. This theory is controversial, and deliberately so. Its proponents argue that the evidence demands an explanation outside the conventional framework. Critics counter that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that the evidence presented, while suggestive, does not yet meet that standard. The debate continues in peer-reviewed literature. Perhaps the most unconventional theory suggests that the tablets are genuine Vinča artifacts, but were in secondary deposition in the pit, placed there centuries after manufacture, making the radiocarbon date of the layer meaningless for dating the tablets. Proponent: scholars who note the stratigraphic contamination problem and the mixed nature of the deposit. Main objection: this argument could be used to dismiss any inconvenient archaeological date and requires positive evidence of secondary deposition that has not been demonstrated. What is striking about this debate is not merely that experts disagree, that is normal and healthy in science. What is striking is the quality of the disagreement. Serious researchers, working from the same body of evidence, reaching genuinely different conclusions. That level of fundamental disagreement, when it persists over decades, is a signal that something important has not yet been understood. The question is not which of these theories is right. The question is whether any of them is right, or whether the truth is something that none of the current frameworks has yet been able to capture. The case surrounding the Tartaria Tablets, the 7,000-year-old script that predates Sumer, does not rest on speculation alone. What distinguishes this investigation from pure mythology is the existence of documented, physical, verifiable evidence, material that has been examined by credentialed researchers and whose authenticity is not seriously disputed. What is disputed is its interpretation. Let us review the most significant documented evidence as objectively as possible. We are not going to cherry-pick the data that supports a preferred conclusion. We are going to lay out what exists and let you draw your own assessment. Physical evidence supporting this account includes radiocarbon dates on organic material from the Tartaria ash pit confirm a date of approximately 5,300 BC for the stratigraphic layer. Multiple independent dating analyses have produced consistent results. The dates themselves are not disputed. The debate concerns whether the tablets were manufactured at the time of the deposit or placed there from a different context, making the layer date potentially uninformative about the tablet's actual age. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Investigators have documented the similarity between selected Tartaria tablet symbols and early Sumerian pictographs is documented in Wynn's 1981 comparative analysis and confirmed by subsequent researchers. Whether this similarity results from cultural contact across prehistoric Europe and the Near East, independent parallel invention, or convergent use of simple geometric forms is unresolved. The geographic distance and the millennium of time separating the two cultures make a simple diffusionist explanation difficult to establish. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. On-site analysis revealed the tablets were found with burned human bones in what appears to have been a ritual deposit pit, a context suggesting deliberate deposition rather than casual loss. Ritual deposits in Neolithic Europe frequently contain objects of special significance. If the tablets had functional or religious significance to the Vinča community, their placement with human remains in an ash pit would be consistent with funerary or dedicatory ritual practice documented across multiple Neolithic cultures. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Each individual piece of evidence might, in principle, be explained away. A single anomalous artifact might be misidentified. A single anomalous date might reflect contamination. A single anomalous eyewitness account might reflect misperception. The question is whether all of the evidence can be explained away, and whether the explanations required are more or less plausible than the evidence itself. When multiple independent lines of inquiry converge on the same conclusion, that convergence is the most powerful signal in empirical science. And that is exactly what we are seeing here. We have examined the history, the evidence, and the theories surrounding the Tartaria Tablets, the 7,000-year-old script that predates Sumer. Now we need to ask the question that is sometimes overlooked in discussions of ancient mysteries. Why does this matter? What does it mean for us today? It would be easy to file this away as an interesting historical curiosity, a puzzle from a distant past with no bearing on our present lives. That would be a fundamental mistake. The questions raised by this case touch on issues that are directly relevant to who we are, where we came from, and what the human story actually looks like before the period covered by conventional history. The Tartaria Tablets remain on display at the National History Museum of Romania and are a major draw for cultural tourism. The Old European script hypothesis, championed by Marija Gimbutas and Harald Haarmann, is not accepted by mainstream linguistics, but continues to attract scholarly and popular interest. The tablets are genuine Vinča culture artifacts whose radiocarbon context has been confirmed. If the Vinča symbols are ever demonstrated to encode language, the tablets would represent the world's oldest writing. Romanian and Serbian research institutions continue to excavate Vinča culture sites, and new symbol-bearing artifacts are periodically recovered. The fundamental question, writing or proto-writing, cannot be answered without decoding the symbols, which has not yet been achieved. Furthermore, the tools available to investigate these questions are advancing rapidly. Satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, ancient DNA analysis, isotopic tracing, and deep-sea sonar are all providing capabilities that previous generations of researchers could only dream of. Cases that were genuinely unresolvable 10 years ago are now open to new analysis, and the findings, consistently, are expanding rather than contracting the mystery. The investigation continues. New discoveries are being made. New analyses are being published. New voices are entering the conversation from disciplines that were not previously part of the discussion. The answers, when they come, and they will come, will not merely solve a historical puzzle. They will force a fundamental revision of assumptions that underpin our entire understanding of human history and human potential. We have now walked through the complete case of the Tartaria Tablets, the 7,000-year-old script that predates Sumer, from the historical record through the physical evidence across the competing theories and into the modern significance of what remains unresolved. What the story of Tartaria Tablets ultimately reveals is not just a historical puzzle. It is a mirror. It reflects our assumptions back at us, our assumptions about what ancient people were capable of, about how knowledge is gained and lost across the centuries, and about the relationship between what we know and what we merely think we know. The evidence presented in this documentary is real. The questions it raises are genuine. The debate among researchers is ongoing, and that is healthy. Science is not a set of conclusions. It is a process, and the process requires that we remain open to evidence that challenges what we thought we knew, however uncomfortable that challenge might be. If you came to this documentary as a skeptic, we hope the evidence gave you something to think about. If you came as a true believer, we hope the critical examination gave you a more nuanced picture. The truth, as always, lies in the evidence, not in what we want to be true. Thank you for watching. If this investigation sparked your curiosity, please subscribe to the channel. We publish new documentaries every week, covering the full range of historical mysteries that the mainstream has not yet adequately explained. Leave a comment below telling us which case you want us to investigate next. The conversation continues. The investigation never ends.